Because today's interaction, as you can see very well from the title, we are going to be focusing upon the best ways we need to approach when we are planning to take up the IELTS test. So, there are certain things that we need to be very particular about. So, first of all, to begin with, like before you even consider taking the test, obviously you are aware that your plan is to go for higher studies, or maybe you are planning to migrate abroad. So, for any of those purposes, we need to take the test. So, first thing what you need to do is basically approach a proper, reliable, trustworthy place where you can get the right guidance. And you should go in for a diagnostic test, which would tell you which parts are you doing well in and which parts you need to pay attention to. Because again, it's a test for individuals and everyone has their own skill set, and there are certain things you might be good at and certain things you need to work upon. So, first, to get to know about that, that is the essential thing. Now, apart from that, the next bit, once you are aware of these things, then you need to go ahead and focus upon the areas of your improvement. You need to go ahead and address all of these problems which might be occurring because, again, with different sections, people have different focus. So, we are going to be again looking into those as well. Like, be it again, in general, you should be aware that listening, reading, speaking, as well as writing, all of those are going to be assessed. So you need to be clear which part are you doing well in and which part do you need to go ahead and work with. So that's another important bit. Now, moving on from there, there are certain specific things that we need to address in terms of each of the particular section. So when we are talking about, let's say, for example, the writing part. So in the writing section, it is pretty vital that you go ahead with planning it. Because when you are planning things around, then you will be able to execute it in a better manner because you have already formulated and you have already given it a thought that these are the important bits that I need to address. And with each type of the different essay that we are getting, there is a slight bit of difference that we need to be sure of. So that is definitely another important aspect. So you need to plan it and then you proceed ahead with it. And another important thing that I keep on noticing because we work with candidates all the time. So whenever students or candidates are going ahead and attempting to try, so over there they end up not checking or revising or reviewing whatever they're attempting. So that is also something that we should be careful about. Um, if you guys are here, has anyone tried out the writing part, or is there any particular section you guys have tried out so far? When it comes to specific sections, you should do them or plan them in the proper manner. Now, moving on to the next important bit, it is about the listening section. Now, this is actually compared to all of the other sections. This is one section where you can do well if you put in good bit of practice and if you also plan it in the proper manner. Because this section is actually one of the highest scoring sections, and we consistently see that students who focus and develop their skills in this particular section, they end up getting pretty high bands. And you should also be mindful that overall the test is basically going to average out your scores. In the test, you are going to be getting a band between 1 to 9. So if in case, let's say in listening, you have gotten a pretty high band, like above the 7.5, you've got an 8, 8.5. And maybe, let's say, unfortunately, in one of the sections, you didn't do that well, particularly. So over there, you got like, let's say, 6, 6.5, which is generally the minimum that they require in each of the sections. So if you have managed to get over there, but overall, your average won't get that badly affected because the score from the listening can balance it out. So obviously, we should be focused on attempting each of the section properly, and we should be paying attention to all of them because that is always the best. But if in case one of the sections, let's say, is a little bit lower for you, your scores in the listening section can balance it out. So that is something you can definitely look towards. Now, these were the top four things that we have talked about so far. So, first of all, you should go ahead and get a proper diagnostic test, which obviously Leverage IELTS can help you out with, which will get you the idea how to go about things and which sections are you lacking in. And obviously, the next logical step is to go ahead and start approaching and practicing and building your skills in that particular section to begin with. Then, obviously, when we are talking about planning things around. Like each of the section has a particular specific strategy. So we should plan things around, execute it properly, and then we should always make sure that we proofread things. Because at the end, before the section's time restriction is finished, you should go ahead and check and verify whether everything that you have done has been done in the proper manner or not. So that is also important. And also, on top of that, listening section is definitely a great friend, which you can utilize for your benefit, and it will help you out with your overall average as well. So those are there. Now, moving on to the fifth important crucial point that will definitely help you in doing better in the test is about the speaking part. Now, many a times candidates are kind of scared about it, or they're not particularly sure how to go about the section. So obviously, first you need to learn what are the things that you are being assessed upon. What are the factors that can help you out in doing well with this? So that is something that you have to be worried about. Now, in terms of when you are face to face with the examiner, so over there, you have to always understand that they are not looking for unnecessarily complicated language or something which is really, out of the box or has to be super creative. What they are actually looking for is people to speak in natural, confident, comfortable manner. So if you develop your skill in that manner, where you come across as a person who is comfortable and chilled out with the language, and you're not appearing to be so anxious or nervous, so that already is setting you in the right direction. So most probably what you have to focus upon is your flexibility, because they are not going to be asking anything in particular or anything incisive or interrogative. They are just looking for the individual. How are they able to express? Are you able to convey your ideas in the proper manner and using the language in an effective way? That's what they are actually focusing upon. So that's flexibility is what we need to start working upon in terms of the speaking section. Obviously, there are parameters which are focusing upon your accuracy as well as your lexical resource, which is about your vocabulary. But that is something we can gradually improve upon. But you have to start with this mindset that it is not something, totally bizarre, or it is something very scary, as to, many people have this fear in their head. Firstly, that's the first hindrance you need to overcome, that mental block which is there. You don't need to go ahead and make it sound like when we use the expression making a mountain out of a molehill. So you don't have to go ahead and make the problem appear bigger than it actually is. It is not really that tricky. You just need to start focusing on your flexibility as a speaker of the English language. So that is something we need to keep in mind.